Welcome back to the channel, Legendary Legacy, Audiobook Free Daily, a channel that shares the audio recap and full audiobook of the legendary best-selling books of all time without spending a penny. Today, we will continue with the book, Thick Face, Black Heart by author Chin-Ning Chu. This is a book that teaches you how to apply the ancient wisdom of Asian philosophy and strategy to achieve success in business and life. We will proceed with Episode 15, Paths to Thick Face, Black Heart. You can listen to the recap audiobook episodes of the channel are published on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and other podcast platforms. You can search for our channel by typing Legendary Legacy, Audiobook Recap into the search bar. Please support our channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing so that we have more motivation to produce more audiobook episodes with the best and latest quality. Thank you for listening and have a nice day. Chapter 15, Paths to Thick Face, Black Heart. Oh man, the jewel is in your bosom, why look for it everywhere else? Japanese Zen poem. The Genetic Connection. In January 1991, I spent 6 weeks in Australia, enjoying a magnificent winter, sunbathing under Sydney's summer sun. Besides reading books and watching the waves, I often fell into a natural meditative state. In one of these states, I had a glorious vision. I saw the whole universe filled with golden sparks of energy. These golden sparks came from every direction, rushing down with immense force into a tiny, tube-like hole. Inside this hole was a mighty gravity that nothing could escape. Every golden spark was genetically programmed to rush into this tiny hole. When I came out of this state, I realized that the small hole was the center of my being, the divine origin of my soul and the source of all strength and all joy. I understood that we alone, as human beings among all the creatures of the universe, were genetically coded to be drawn to this divine force. When we violate this natural human state, all elements in the universe, including ourselves, work against us. Everything in life, whether it be starting a business, making money, getting married, having children, getting divorced, changing jobs, finding a new girlfriend or boyfriend, drinking, smoking, or taking drugs, is motivated by our basic desire to feel good, to experience the connection with that divine source within each of us. Although our actions may be guided either by ignorance or wisdom, producing positive or negative results, our motivation is always noble, the constant desire to be immersed in that godlike, blissful state. Most of us use the only method that we know to be in touch with this inner joy, our outward activities. If falling in love or getting a new spouse would satisfy our craving for this state, then we would change our mates often. If changing jobs would bring that new and exciting feeling, then we would change jobs often. The ignorant chase after this inner bliss, as a dog chases after its own tail. They are always in action and never satisfied. Where is life's operating manual? How does one go about finding this inner bliss? Some people hold our Maker responsible for the way we have mishandled our lives because they believe our Maker has forgotten to deliver them a copy of the operation manual. I used to feel this way, but now I see it differently. Our Maker did not leave his children without a manual, rather, we simply do not know where to find this manual or how to read it. When we discover where this manual is located and how to read it, then we will attain the state of thick face, black heart. This mysterious operating manual is written without paper or ink. It is ever within you and without you. There is no place or time in which this manual is not present. The business manual versus life's manual. Business is a major part of our life. One who has the requisite skills for life will also be skillful in business. This is because business is based on interaction with people, all people, even ourselves. Life is about relating to people, others, and ourselves. The foundation for acquiring the skill of relating to other people is rooted in the degree to which we are able to understand and relate to ourselves. I have spoken of the practical value in adapting the power of thick face, black heart when we cross paths with others in the world of business or casual relationships. I have emphasized repeatedly that the source of thick face, black heart is within us as the natural state of our soul. Now we are ready to embark upon a journey that will allow us to directly experience the source that supports the dynamic of thick face, black heart. The dynamic force behind thick face, black heart. The power source of thick face, black heart is also equally present elsewhere in the universe. This force, towards which all existence rushes, is also the source that brings about the reality of creation. After the theory of relativity, Albert Einstein devoted most of his life to working on proving the unified field theory. He was convinced there is a single force in the universe that binds all the diverse elements of creation together. Many scientists, then and now, have criticized Einstein's simple view of the universe. Einstein may not have been able to prove his theory prior to his death, but his intuition about a unified field theory is in harmony with all the Oriental views of the universe. The merit of unlearning. A Zen monk lived in 16th century Japan under a bridge. He expressed the simplistic principle of life in a few profound words. Most people try to know more to become more clever every day, whereas I attempt to become more simple and uncomplicated every day. The story exemplifies the burdens we place on ourselves in everyday life. At the moment of birth we are born naked, but possess a natural dynamic force, the root of thick face, black heart. As we grow older, we deplete this natural force by conforming to man-made virtues, ideals and principles. These artificial standards encumber and distract us, so in order to obtain thick face, black heart, there is not so much to learn as there is to unlearn. Live the knowledge. We are shaped by our thoughts, we become what we think. When the mind is pure, joy follows, like a shadow that never leaves. Buddha, the Dharmapada. It took me over a year and a half to finish writing this book. In the beginning, this book was a notion in my mind and a feeling in my heart. As I kept on clarifying this feeling and putting it on paper, I became clearer about my own state of mind regarding thick face, black heart. After living with the information every waking and sleeping moment, I experienced a great transformation within me. I am no longer the same person who started the book. My spirit is more centered, my mind is more focused on my objectives, my execution is more effective, and my emotions are more controlled. As I occasionally travel through the valley of the shadow of death in the competitive game called making a living, I focus myself and recall the information in this book from which I find great strength. Words are not words, they are the embodiment of power. The ideas communicated in this book are genuine and truthful. I promise that you will arrive at a different dimension as you unceasingly contemplate the principle of thick face, black heart and let it support your every professional and personal endeavor. The 7 centering techniques. Man goes to great trouble to acquire knowledge of the material world. He learns all branches of mundane science. He explores the earth, and even travels to the moon. Yet he never tries to find out what exists within himself. Because he is unaware of the enormous power which lies hidden within him, he looks for support in the outer world. Ancient Hindu text. On January 6, 1992, Newsweek magazine's cover story was about how Americans pray to God. The report revealed that 91% of women pray, as do 85% of men. More than 78% of all Americans pray at least once a week, and more than 57% pray at least once a day. Just about all Americans, regardless of their religious denomination, agree that the source of all power, knowledge, creativity and wealth lies within our mighty Maker. By being in touch with His power, we are empowered and renewed. Through prayer, we bring forth the Spirit of the Almighty and He lives within us. As the Bible says, the kingdom of heaven is within. God does not reside in the marble structures of the church or temple. He lives within the human heart. In order to talk to God, we need to listen for God. We need to learn His language, the language of silence. The following are techniques to center and calm one's mind. The aim of introducing these techniques is not a religious one. Calming the mind allows us to behold the power within, the root of thick face, black heart. When the mind is calm, all mysteries are revealed and God's hidden power within us naturally radiates forth. Depending upon each person's nature and beliefs, one method may be more suitable than another. These techniques are not so mysterious, they are practical and have proved effective for thousands of years. For example, have you ever wondered why a rocking chair enjoys such popularity? The secret is not in the chair, but in the motion of rocking. As the chair rocks, the human mind becomes calmer and the spirit feels more serene. The ancient Hindu scripture Vijnanabhairava describes 112 different methods to calm the mind. One describes swinging one's body slowly while sitting in a vehicle, or practicing a self-induced swinging motion, which results in a tranquil mental state. The following techniques are useful for anyone, especially busy workers living a hectic life. The techniques are simple, yet potent. Techniques 1. Practice the presence of God. Rejoice evermore, praying without ceasing. 1 Thessalonians v. 16-17. Practicing the presence of God and invoking the power of the divine inspires you to identify with your Creator. To practice His presence, simply repeat the name of the divine unceasingly among all the methods of calming the mind and recharging it with vitality. This is the easiest for the present age. Repetition of God's name is not only practiced in Eastern traditions, it is also common among Western spiritual seekers. Francis of Assisi, for example, promoted this practice to his followers. The mind is easily distracted, it loses its focus and becomes restless. If it is not directed positively, its power will be diffused. While we feed the body, we often starve our mind. By not providing the proper diet and discipline to the mind, it becomes irritated and increasingly restless. Because of our natural genetic coding, our mind will not cease to trouble us until we provide it with what it craves, to be touched by its Creator. By uttering the name of the divine continuously, you will touch Him and He will touch you back. When you initially practice this repetition, your mind might resist. You will be unaccustomed to the practice, but with time and experience you will learn to immerse your mind in the pool of the divine presence. You will float in ecstasy, while your heart bursts with joy. Through the repetition of the divine name your intellect will sharpen and your mental strength will toughen. Practicing the presence of God can be done silently while you are going about your worldly duties. Counting rosary beads also can be beneficial, since holding the rosary will act as a reminder to the mind to focus on the divine. When Gandhi was assassinated, he was uttering the divine name of Ram, Ram. Even at the moment of sudden death by gunshot, Gandhi's mind was absorbed totally in the nectar of the divine. Techniques 2. The art of breathing. In Sanskrit, breath is called prana, thy vital force. In Chinese it is called qi. Breath is closely connected to the well-being of the mind. Watch your breath. You will discover that when your breathing is short and shallow, your mind is restless. When you breathe deeply, your mind will become calm and tranquil and your intellect sharp and focused. In the Essene Gospel of Peace, Book 2, Jesus said, "We worship the holy breath which is placed higher than all the other things created. For lo, the eternal and sovereign Lumi, new space, where rule the unnumbered stars, is the air we breathe in and the air we breathe out. And in the moment betwixt the breathing in and breathing out is hidden all the mysteries of the infinite garden." The same thing is recorded in Vijnanabhairava 24, the exhalation goes out and the inhalation goes in. By steady fixation of the mind at the two spaces between the breaths, one may experience the full nature of God. Today, Catholic Trappist monks commonly adopt a breath ing technique to center their mind and focus on God. The following are a few simple steps for practicing the art of breathing. 1. Select a quiet, serene place in your home, preferably a room dedicated for prayer and meditation. If that's not possible, assign a corner used for this purpose only. 2. Wear natural fabric when meditating. Silk, cotton, and wool are recommended. 3. Wear the same set of clothes during your regular breathing and meditation session. 4. Establish an altar, and if you prefer worship of a specific form, place the image of your chosen deity there to inspire your devotion. 5. Candles or fragrances can also be used to create a serene mood. It is advisable to select the same fragrance each time, so you associate the fragrance with your meditation. 6. Sit quietly on a wool mat on the floor, or on a chair covered with a wool mat, with your back erect, body relaxed and stomach empty or not too full. Using the same wool mat will help you associate it with meditation. 7. Close your eyes. Bring your attention to your breathing. 8. Watch your breath naturally go in and out of your body. 9. Listen to the sound of your breath. When your breath comes in, it makes the natural sound ham, and as the breath goes out, it makes the sound sa. Humans breathe in and out 21,600 times a day, and each time the breath repeats hamsa. Jesus said, "The holy breath is placed higher than all the other things created." Listen to your breath silently as you breath in and out, watching the space between the inhalation and the exhalation. 10. With your mind, follow the breath within you and observe the space where inhalation meets exhalation, approximately 12 fingers distance from the nostril. Behold the space between the breaths, for it is the gate to the mystery of this universe and beyond. 11. At first, sit for 5 minutes each day. As your mind becomes calmer, prolong the sitting time to a half hour or longer. Techniques 3. Invoking the inner music. At any stage of the above meditation process, while the mind is calm and serene, you may naturally drop the effort of attempting to harmonize your breathing. As the mind gets calmer through diligent practice of sitting peacefully, one will hear an inner music, sounds that may ring different for each individual: buzzing bees, gurgling water, the whisper of a celestial flute, the chime of distant gongs, the blowing of a horn, or a mixture of all of them in a tranquil and harmonious arrangement. Just sink into the ecstasy of the inner music. But do not force it. If you don't hear anything, just sit and enjoy the silent void. Years ago, in the middle of a working day, I stopped at a church, just to sit. As my mind gradually calmed, I heard the ring of the most beautiful Zen bell. The sound of the bell ringing through me was as though the fresh spring rain had washed away all of my day's fatigue and bathed me in the pool of exhilaration and jubilation. After I left the church, I told my partner, who was sitting next to me in the church, how beautifully the bell rang. My partner told me there was no Zen bell ringing whatsoever. Then I realized the bell I heard was my inner music of divine delight. I had heard the inner music often before, but never had it been so loud. In fact, the Zen Buddhist and Christian bells, the Tibetan long horn, the Hindu conch, and all other spiritual ceremonial instruments are an attempt to recreate the inner music that is heard during meditation. Techniques 4. Unlocking the inner vision. As you practice the breathing centering technique, you might see divine visions in the form of shimmering white light, or blue lights, even stars, or galaxies. Be very careful. The goal of meditation is not to hear and see the phenomena. These are merely road signs to indicate that you are on the right track. The spiritual experience will unfold as it is right for you, depending upon your temperament, so do not worry if your meditative experiences are not similar to those of others. Simply enjoy the presence of the divine in a blissful and expanded state. For the meditator, the experience during meditation is private. One does not make it public without good reason. I have been sharing some of my experiences in order to assure you that the effort you put forth will not be wasted. 5 years ago, I spent over 6 months at my mountain property in Mosier, Oregon. The land is nearly 4,000 feet high and my closest neighbor is 40 acres away. I spent a great deal of time in deep meditation. The longer I was alone, the more my inner and outer states merged. It came to the point where I could really see my mind working, see it pulsating and sparking with energy. Sometimes at night I traveled to the center of the Milky Way. The stars were dazzlingly white, some glowing individually against black space, others clustered so that their light bled into one another and formed a brilliant tableaus. On other nights, though, the stars shifted to a red color. I did not know exactly how or what signaled the change. Since it is a fact that spiritual states are closely tied to physical reality, I looked for an explanation for the change of colors in nature. I asked around and learned that in astrophysics there is a phenomenon known as the red shift, which is a lengthen of the wavelength of a star as it diverges from another body, causing its visible light to shift from white to red. On those nights when the stars appeared red, I was moving ever inward to new, unexplored states. Techniques 5. Contemplating the vast, open space. When you are gazing into the sky, the open desert, or the ocean, imagine these vast spaces as expressions of the divine and then let this image dissolve in your head. As your mind merges with the vast open space, the reality of outer and inner becomes one. At that moment, you will experience the whole universe bathed in the light of the divine. Everyone is familiar with the feelings brought about by gazing into the sky or the ocean. A sense of tranquility rushes over us. Even though you do not experience the ultimate state immediately, the benefit to the mind is obvious. The following 2 techniques are unconventional, but I listed them specifically for the benefit of the unconventional. Technique 6. Courting the blissful oblivion. The euphoria of sex mirrors the bliss of the divine. What I am about to reveal is not a statement to encourage indulging in carnal pleasure. It merely points out that God's bliss is present everywhere and we can gain a glimpse of it during our sexual encounters. 1. While locked in an embrace with a lover, one is totally dissolved in the feeling of oneness, unity, and one loses all sense of anything external or internal. Similarly, when the mind is dissolved in the divine energy, one loses all sense of duality and experiences the delight of unity consciousness. At the time of sexual intercourse, an absorption into your partner is brought about by excitement, and the final rapture that ensues at orgasm betokens the delight of the divine. This delight, in reality, is your own divine bliss. This sexual absorption is only symbolic of your absorption in the divine energy. 2. During the time of orgasm, instead of focusing on the joy of the orgasm, focus on the source of that orgasm. By tracing it back to the source, one discovers the source of all delight is the delight of the divine. This delight does not come from an external source. The lover is only a catalyst for the manifestation of the delight. 3. Even in the absence of a lover, there is a flood of euphoria, simply by the intensity of the memory of sexual pleasure. Since sexual pleasure can be obtained by memory, even in the absence of a lover, it is evident that the elation is inherent within. 4. On the occasion of joy arising from seeing a friend or relative after a long time, one should meditate on the joy itself and become absorbed in it. The mind will then identify with the source of the joy. Technique 7. Soliciting joy from the pleasure of eating. When one's joy swells at the prospect of savoring a good meal, one should meditate on the condition of this joy itself. Supreme delight then will follow. Once a student asked his teacher, "What is the state of Buddha?" The teacher answered, "When you eat, you eat, when you sleep, you sleep, when you work, you work." This is a similar concept to one Mahatma Gandhi expressed, "No matter where you are, make sure you are there." Whenever your mind is totally absorbed in whatever activities you are performing, your mind will remain calm and content, and the bliss of God will reveal itself. The 2 wheels of thick face, black heart. The two wheels of thick face, black heart are the knowledge of spiritual matters along with an awareness of the practical sciences of survival. Spiritual contemplation benefits one's spiritual life as well as one's capacity to handle the mundane world. Such contemplation sharpens and polishes the mind and makes it fit to accomplish objectives. It improves the ability to concentrate, it makes one indifferent to outside judgments and influences, it grants the power for compassion as well as divine vengeance. All of these traits, combined with pragmatic worldly skills, are what enable one to operate efficiently in our shrewd and competitive world. Together these form the complete dimension of thick face, black heart. Summary of key points. Key points 1. Our divine maker did not leave his children without an operation manual, however, we do not know where to find this manual or how to read it. This mysterious operating manual is located within as well as without each one of us. Key points 2. Everything we do in life is motivated by our basic desire to feel good, to experience the connection with the divine power within each one of us. Because our actions are guided by either ignorance or wisdom, the consequences produced are either positive or negative. Nevertheless, our motivation is a noble one, the desire constantly to be immersed in that blissful state. Key points 3. Man goes to great trouble to acquire knowledge of the material world, yet he never tries to find out what exists within himself. Because he is unaware of the enormous power which lies hidden within him, he looks for support in the outer world. Key points 4. 7 Centering techniques. Techniques 1. Practice the presence of God. Invoking the power of the name of the divine inspires identification with the divine. Among all the methods of spiritual practice, this is the easiest for the busy people. Techniques 2. Pranayama, the art of breathing. Breath is closely connected to the well-being of the mind. When we master our minds, we master our world. 1. Sit quietly on a wool mat on the floor, or on a chair with your back erect, body relaxed, and stomach empty. 2. Close your eyes. Bring your attention to your breathing. 3. Watch your breath naturally go in and out of your body. 4. Listen to the sound of hamsa as you breath. When your breath comes in, you hear the natu, ral sound ham, and as the breath goes out, sa. Watching the space between the inhalation and the exhalation. With your mind, follow the breath, observe the space where inhalation meets exhalation, approximately 12 fingers distance from the nostril. Behold the space between the breaths, for it is the gate to the mystery of this universe and beyond. Techniques 3. Invoking the inner music. While the mind is calm and serene, sit quietly and listen for the inner music. One may hear the sounds of buzzing bees, running waters, the celestial flute, the hitting of gongs, the blowing of a horn, or a mixture of all of them in a tranquil and harmonious arrangement. Just absorb yourself in that inner bliss. Techniques 4. Unlocking the inner vision. As your mind becomes calm, you may see divine visions, such as white light, blue light, stars, or galaxies. Techniques 5. Contemplating the vast open space. When you are gazing into the sky, open desert, or the ocean, imagine these vast spaces as expressions of the divine. Then let this image dissolve in your head. As your mind merges with the vast open space, the reality of outer and inner become one. At that moment, you will experience the whole universe bathed in the light of the divine. Technique 6. Courting the blissful oblivion. The bliss of sex mirrors the bliss of the divine. God's bliss is present everywhere, and we can gain a gleam into the source of his divine bliss during our sexual encounters. 1. At the time of sexual intercourse, an absorption into your partner brought about by excitement and the final delight that ensues at orgasm betokens the delight of the divine. 2. During the time of orgasm, instead of focusing on the joy of the orgasm, focus on the source of that orgasm. By following the source of the orgasm, one discovers the source of all delight, the delight of the divine. 3. Even in the absence of a lover, there is a flood of delight, simply by the intensity of the memory of sexual pleasure. 4. On the occasion of great delight being obtained, or on the occasion of delight arising from seeing a friend or relative after a long time, one should meditate on the delight itself and become absorbed in it. One's mind will then identify with the source of the delight. Technique 7. Soliciting joy from the pleasure of eating. When one experiences the expansion of joy, or savors the pleasure arising from eating or drinking, one should meditate on the perfect condition of this joy. Then there will be supreme delight. Key points 5. The two wheels of thick face, black heart are the knowledge and experience of spiritual matter combined with the awareness of the practical sciences of survival.